The Katipunan was a Philippine revolutionary society founded by anti-Spanish Filipinos in Manila in 1892, whose primary aim was to gain independence from Spain through revolution. The society was initiated by Filipino patriots Andrés Bonifacio, Teodoro Plata, Ladislao Diwa, and others on the night of July 7, when Filipino writer José Rizal was to be banished to Dapitan. Initially, the Katipunan was a secret organization until its discovery in 1896 that led to the outbreak of the Philippine Revolution. The word Katipunan, literally means association, comes from the root word tipon, a Tagalog word meaning gather together, or society. Its official revolutionary name was Kataas-taasan, Kagalang-galangang Katipunan ni Florin Mgi Florin Anak ni Florin Bayan. The Katipunan is also known by its acronym, KKK. The organization has no affiliation with the racist group known as the Ku Klux Klan, who are also associated with the acronym KKK. Being a secret organization, its members were subjected to the utmost secrecy and were expected to abide with the rules established by the society. Aspirant applicants were given standard initiation rites to become members of the society. At first, membership in the Katipunan was only open to male Filipinos. Later, women were accepted in the society. The Katipunan had its own publication, Kagalang, that had its first and last print on March 1896. Revolutionary ideals and works flourished within the society, and Philippine literature were expanded by some of its prominent members. In planning the revolution, Bonifacio contacted Rizal for his full-fledged support for the Katipunan in exchange for a promise of rescuing Rizal from his detainment. On May 1896, a delegation was sent to the Emperor of Japan to solicit funds and military arms. The Katipunan's existence was revealed to the Spanish authorities after a member named Teodoro Plata confessed the Katipunan's illegal activities to his sister, and finally to the mother portress of Mandaluyong orphanage. 7 days after the Spanish authorities learned of the existence of the secret society, on August 26, 1896, Bonifacio and his men tore their car copyright doulas during the infamous cry of Pugadlawan that started the Philippine Revolution. Etymology: the name Katipunan comes from the full Tagalog name for the society, Kataas-taasan Kagalang-galangang Katipunan ng Mga Anak ng Bayan. History: being a secret organization, its members were subjected to stringent discretion and were expected to abide with the rules established by the society. Aspirant applicants were given standard initiation rites to become members of the association. At first, membership in the Katipunan was only open to male Filipinos. Later, women were admitted. The Katipunan had its own publication, Kagalang, that had its only print in March 1896. Revolutionary ideals and works flourished within the society, and Philippine literature were expanded by some of its prominent members. In planning the revolution, Bonifacio contacted Rizal for his full-fledged support for the Katipunan in exchange for a promise of rescuing Rizal from his detainment. In May 1896, a delegation was sent to the Emperor Meiji to solicit funds and military arms. The Katipunan's existence was revealed to Spanish authorities after a member named Teodoro Plata confessed the Katipunan's illegal activities to his sister, and finally to the other portress of Mandaluyong orphanage. 7 days later, on August 26, 1896, Bonifacio and his men tore their car copyright doulas in the famous cry of Pugadlawan that started the Philippine Revolution. Formation, influence of the propaganda movement. The Katipunan and the Cuerpo de Compromisarios were, effectively, successor organizations of La Liga Filipina, founded by José Rizal. This organization was part of the late 19th century propaganda movement in the Philippines. Katipunan founders Andrés Bonifacio, Ladislao Diwa, and Teodoro Plata were all members of La Liga and were influenced by the nationalistic ideals of the propaganda movement in Spain. Marcelo H. del Pilar, another leader of the propaganda movement in Spain, also influenced the formation of the Katipunan. Modern-day historians believe that he had a direct hand in its organization because of his role in the propaganda movement and his eminent position in Philippine Masonry. Most of the Katipunan's founders were Freemasons. The Katipunan had initiation ceremonies that were copied from Masonic rites. It also had a hierarchy of rank that was similar to that of Freemasonry. Rizal's Spanish biographer Anceslo Reterna and Filipino biographer Juan Raimundo Lumuag saw the formation of the Katipunan as Del Pilar's victory over Rizal. La Liga dies, and the Katipunan rises in its place. Del Pilar's plan wins over that of Rizal. Del Pilar and Rizal had the same end, even if each took a different road to it. Founding of the Katipunan, captured Katipunan members, who were also members of La Liga, revealed to the Spanish colonial authorities that there was a difference of opinion among members of La Liga. One group insisted on La Liga's principle of a peaceful reformation while the other espoused armed revolution. On the night of July 7, 1892, when José copyright Rizal was banished and exiled to Dapitan in Mindanao, Andrés copyright Bonifacio, a member of the La Liga Filipina, founded the Katipunan in a house in Tondo, Manila. Bonifacio did establish the Katipunan when it was becoming apparent to anti-Spanish Filipinos that societies like the La Liga Filipina would be suppressed by colonial authorities. He was assisted by his two friends, Teodoro Plata and Ladislao Diwa, plus Valente Endaas and Deodato Arellano. The Katipunan was founded along at Saragas Street near Elcano Street in Tondo, Manila. Despite their reservations about the peaceable reformation that Rizal espoused, they named Rizal honorary president without his knowledge. The Katipunan, established as a secret brotherhood organization, went under the name Kataas-taasan, Kagalang-galangang Katipunan ni Florin Mgi Florin Anak ni Florin Bayan. The Katipunan had four aims, namely, to develop a strong alliance with each and every Katipunero, to unite Filipinos into one solid nation, to win Philippine independence by means of an armed conflict, to establish a republic after independence. The rise of the Katipunan signaled the end of the crusade to secure reforms from Spain by means of a peaceful campaign. The propaganda movement led by Rizal, Del Pilar, Jenna and others had failed its mission. Hence, Bonifacio started the militant movement for independence. Organization, administration. The Katipunan was governed by the Supreme Council. The first Supreme Council of the Katipunan was formed around August 1892, a month after the founding of the society. The Supreme Council was headed by an elected president, followed by the secretaries, the treasurer and the fiscal. The Supreme Council also had its councillors. The number varied through presidencies. To distinguish from presidents of lower sanguinian or councils, the president of the Supreme Council was called the Supreme President. At the outbreak of the 1896 revolution, the council was further reorganized into a cabinet which the Katipunan regarded as a genuine revolutionary government, de facto and de jure. In each province where there were Katipunan members, a provincial council called Sangguniang Bayan was established, and in each town was an organized popular council called Sangguniang Barangay. Each bayan and barangay had its own set of elected officials, Pangulo, Kalayam, Tagazig, Tagaingat-yaman, Pangalawang Pangulo, Pangalawang Kalayam, Mga Kazanguni, Mabalizig, Talaba, Manananjil, Tagapamahala Ng Bazayan Ng Bayan, custodian of the People's Library. Tagapangasiwa, Manunilat, Tagatulong Zapagsulat, Tagalon, and Tagalibot. Each barangay were given a chance to expand their own spheres of influence, through triangle system in order to elevate their status to Sangguniang Bayan. Every barangay that did not gain Sangguniang Bayan status were dissolved and annexed by greater provincial or popular councils. The towns-cities which supported the Katipunan cause were given symbolic names, such as Magdiang for Novlata, Magdalo for Kawit, Magwaji for Nick, Magdgumpay for Maragundan, Walangtanag for Indang and Halag for Amusa. All are in the province of Cavite. Within the society functioned a secret chamber, called Kamara Reina, which was presided over by Bonifacio, Jacinto, and Pao Valenzuela. This mysterious chamber passed judgment upon those who had betrayed their oath and those accused of certain offences penalized by Katipunan laws. Every Katipunero stood in fearful awe of this chamber. According to José Copyright P. Santos, throughout the existence of the secret chamber, about 5 Katipuneros were convicted and sentenced to die by it. The death sentence was handed down in the figure of a cup with a serpent coiled around it. History of administration. In 1892, after the Katipunan was founded, the members of the Supreme Council consisted of Arellano as president, Bonifacio as comptroller, Diwa as fiscal, Plata as secretary and Rizal as treasurer. In 1893, the Supreme Council comprised Ramacube den Basa as president, Bonifacio as fiscal, José Copyright Juriano Santiago as secretary, Vicente Molina as treasurer and Restituto Javier, Riccio Pantas, Teodoro González, Plata, and Diwa were councillors. It was during Basa's term that the society organized a women's auxiliary section. 2 of its initial members were Gregoria de Giza S., whom Bonifacio had just married, and Marina Dizon, daughter of José Copyright Dizon. It was also in 1893 when Basa and Diwa organized the Provincial Council of Cavite, which would later be the most successful council of the society. The Filipino scholar Maximo Calwa reports that Basa yielded the presidency to Bonifacio in 1894 because of a dispute over the usefulness of the initiation rites and Bonifacio's handling of the society's butts. Basa contested Bonifacio's practice of lending their funds to needy members, complete with promissory notes. Moreover, Basa refused to induct his son into the organization. It was also in 1894 when Emilio Jacinto, a nephew of Dizon who was studying law at the University of Santo Tomas, joined the Katipunan. He intellectualized the society's aims and formulated the principles of the society as embodied in its primer, called Carta. It was written in Tagalog and all recruits were required to commit it to heart before they were initiated. Jacinto would later be called the brains of the Katipunan. At the same time, Jacinto also edited Kagalang, the society's official organ, but only one edition of the paper was issued. A second was prepared but never printed due to the discovery of the society. Kagalang was published through the printing press of the Spanish newspaper Diario de Manila. This printing press and its workers would later play an important role in the outbreak of the revolution. In 1895, José Copyright Juriano Santiago, a close personal friend of Bonifacio, was expelled because a coded message of the Katipunan fell into the hands of a Spanish priest teaching at the University of Santo Tomas. Since the priest was a friend of Santiago's sister, he and his half-brother Restituto Javier were suspected of betrayal, but the two would remain loyal to the Katipunan and Santiago would even join the Philippine Revolutionary Forces in the Filipino-Euro-American War. Jacinto replaced Santiago as secretary. In early 1895, Bonifacio called a meeting of the society and deposed Basa in an election that installed Bonifacio as president, Jacinto as fiscal, Santiago as secretary, Molina as secretary, Pao Valenzuela and Pantaleon Torres as physicians, and Aguado del Rosario and Dorito Trinidad as councillors. On December 31, 1895, another election named Bonifacio as president, Jacinto as fiscal, Santiago as secretary, Molina as secretary, Pao Valenzuela and Pantaleon Torres as physicians, and Aguado del Rosario and Dorito Trinidad as councillors. The members of the Supreme Council in 1895 were Bonifacio as president, Valenzuela as fiscal and physician, Jacinto as secretary, and Molina as treasurer. Enrico Pacheco, Pantaleon Torres, Balbino Florentino, Francisco Caricubden and Hermenegildo Reyes were named councillors. 8 months later, in August 1896, the fifth and last Supreme Council was elected to renamed offices. Bonifacio was named Supremo, Jacinto Secretary of State, Plata Secretary of War, Brigo Pantas Secretary of Justice, Aguado del Rosario Secretary of Interior and Enrique Pacheco Secretary of Finance. Members. Over the next 4 years, the Katipunan founders would recruit new members. By the time the society was uncovered, The American writer James Leroy estimated the strength of the Katipunan at 100,000 to 400,000 members. Historian Teodoro Plata estimated that the membership had increased to around 30,000 by 1896. The Ilocano writer Isabel de los Reyes estimated membership at 15,000 to 50,000. Aside from Manila, the Katipunan also had sizable chapters in Batangas, Laguna, Cavite, Rizal, Bulacan, Pampanga, Tarlac and Nueva Ecija. There were also smaller chapters in Ilocos Sur, Ilocos Norte, Pangasinan and the Baikal region. The Katipunan founders spent their free time recruiting members. For example, Diwa, who was a clerk at a judicial court, was assigned to the office of a justice of the peace in Pampanga. He initiated members in that province as well as Bulacan, Tarlac, and Nueva Ecija. Most of the Katipuneros were plebeian, although several wealthy patriots joined the society and submitted themselves to the leadership of Bonifacio. Katipunero is the demonym of a male member of the Katipunan. Katipunero refers to female members. Triangle system and grades. It was the original plan of Bonifacio to increase the membership of the Katipunan by means of sistemang patutsulak or triangle system. He formed his first triangle with his two comrades, Teodoro Plata and Ladislao Diwa. Each of them reinstituted Katipunan thoughts into another two new converts. The founder of the triangle knew the other two members, but the latter did not know each other. On December 1892 the system was abolished after proving it to be clumsy and complicated. A new system of initiation, modeled after the Masonic rites, was then adopted. When the Katipunan had expanded to more than 100 members, Bonifacio divided the members into three grades, the Katipon, which is the lowest rank, the Kul, and the Bayani. In the meeting of the society, Katipon wore a black hood with a triangle of white ribbon having the letters ZLL. B. Corresponding to the Roman A and B. Meaning Anak ni Florin Bayan. Kul wore a green hood with a triangle having white lines and the letters ZLLB. At the three angles of the triangle, and also wore a green ribbon with a medal with the letter in Bayan script above a depiction of a crossed sword and flag. The password was Gomberza, taken from the names of the three martyrs Mariano Gomez, Jose Burgos and Jacinto Zamora. Bayani wore a red mask and a sash with green borders, symbolizing courage and hope. The front of the mask had white borders that formed a triangle with three Ks arranged as if occupying the angles of a triangle within a triangle, and with the letters ZLL. B. Below. Another password was Rizal. Countersigns enabled members to recognize one another on the street. A member meeting another member placed the palm of his right hand on his breast and, as he passed the other member, he closed the hands to bring the right index finger and thumb together. Color designations, AAAA Katipon. First-degree members. Other symbols, black hood, revolver and or bolo. AAAA Kul. Second-degree members. Other symbols, green ribbon medallion with Malayan K inscription. AAAAAAAA Bayani. Third-degree members. Other symbols, red hood and sash, with green borders. Katipon could graduate to Kul class by bringing several new members into the society. A Kul could become a Bayani upon being elected an officer of the society. Membership. Any person who wished to join the Katipunan was subjected to certain initiation rites, resembling those of Masonic rites, to test his courage, patriotism, and loyalty. New recruits underwent the initiation rite 3 at a time so that no member knew more than 2 other members of the society. The neophyte was first blindfolded and then led into a dimly lighted room with black curtains where his folded cloth was removed from his eyes. An admonition, in Tagalog, was posted at the entrance to the room. Inside the candle-lit room, they would be brought to a table adorned with a skull and a bolo. There, they would condemn the abuses of the Spanish government and vow to fight colonial oppression. 1. Anak ang kalagaan nito ng Kagalang-galangang Katipunan. Expected answer: when the Spaniards came to the Philippine shores on March 16, 1521, the Filipinos were already in a civilized state. They had freedom of government. They had artillery, They had silk dresses. They had carried on commerce with Asia. They had their own religion and their own alphabet. In short, they had liberty and independence. 2. The Anak ang Kagalang-galangang Expected answer: the friars have not really civilized the Filipinos, since enlightenment was contrary to their interests. The Filipinos were merely superficially taught formulas of catechism for which they paid numerous costly fiestas for the benefit of the friars. 3. The Anak ang Kagalang-galangang Expected answer: with faith, valor, and perseverance, these evils will be remedied. During Bonifacio's time, all of the Filipino people are referred collectively by the Katipunan as Tagalogs, while Philippines is Katagulagan. The next step in the initiation ceremony was the lecture given by the Master of Ceremonies, called Mabalasik, who informed the neophyte to withdraw if he lacked courage, since he would be out of place in the patriotic society. If the neophyte persisted, he was presented to the assembly of the brethren, who subjected him to various ordeals such as blindfolding him and making him shoot supposedly a revolver at a person, or forcing him to jump over a supposedly hot flame. After the ordeals came to final retire the Pacto de Sangre or blood compact in which the neophyte signed the oath with blood taken from his arm. He was then accepted as a full-pledged member, with a symbolic name by which he was known within Katipunan circles. Bonifacio's symbolic name was Mapagasa. Jacinto was Pinkian and Artemio Ricart was Vibra. Admission of women to the society: at first, Katipunan was purely a patriotic society for men. Owing to the growing suspicion of the women regarding nocturnal absences of their husbands, the reduction of their monthly earnings and long hours of work, Bonifacio had to bring them into the realms of the KKK. A section for women was established in the society. To become admitted, one must be a wife, a daughter, or a sister of a male Katipunero. It was estimated that from 20 to 50 women had become members of the society. The first woman to become member of the Katipunan was Gregoria de Jesus, wife of Bonifacio. She was called the Lakambini ng Katipunan. Initially, there were 29 women were admitted to the Katipunan: Gregoria de Jesus, Maria Dizon, President of the Women's Section; Josepha and Trinidad Rizal, sisters of Dr. Joseph Copyright Rizal; Angelica Lopez and Delfina Herbosa Natividad, close relatives of Dr. Rizal; Karma Copyright Enda Rodriguez; Marina Hizan; Benita Rodriguez; Semanidara Copyright Migio; Gregoria Montoya; Agueda Cayabagan, Teresa Magbanua, Trinidad Texan, rendered as mother of Biak Narbato; Nazariah Lagos; Petronica Gamboa; Marsla Agancillo; Melchora Aquino, the Grand Old Woman of Balintawak; Marta Soldo +or-A and Macaria Paul +or-Gilinan. The women rendered valuable services to the Katipunan. They guarded the secret papers and documents of the society. Whenever the Katipunan held sessions in a certain house, they usually made merry, singing and dancing with some of the men in the living room so that the civil guard were led that there was nothing but a harmless social party within. Though women are considered to be members of the Katipunan, information regarding the women's section was scarce and sometimes conflicting. Teodoro Agancillo, for example, disregarded Marina Dizon and concluded that Joseph Rizal was the only president of the said section. Gregorio Zaide, on the other hand, mentioned Dizon's presidency in his 1939 publication History of the Katipunan but changed his mind when he adopted Dr. Pao Valenzuela's notion that women members did not elect officers, hence there is no room for president. Notable Katipuneros: Andrés Bonifacio, Supremo, third leader and founder of the Kalusang La Liga Filipina; Emilio Aguinaldo, first and only president of the then First Philippine Republic, Katipunan's successor. He was also a ward general and head of the Magdalo faction that led to a strife among the Katipuneros. During his presidency, he ordered the execution of Andrés Copyright S. Bonifacio in 1897. Emilio Jacinto, called as the brains of the Katipunan. He wrote several papers during the revolution like the Cartilla. Gregoria de Jesus, called as the Lakambini ng Katipunan and nicknamed Ailing or Yang, she was the wife of Bonifacio before marrying Julio Nakpil after the former's death. She was also regarded as one of the first women members of the Katipunan. Gregorio del Pilar entered the Katipunan circle when he joined the First Philippine Republic's army against the Americans. He died during the Battle of Tirad Pass. Licerio Giracube Nimo, Aguinaldo's war general during Filipino-Euro-American War. Vicente Lucbayen, Americans regarded him to be the mastermind of the bloody Balangiga massacre in 1901 during Filipino-Euro-American War. Antonio Luna, Aguinaldo's brigadier general, he led the war against the Americans during Filipino-Euro-American War. Was killed by Cowit troops. Miguel Malva y Carpio, commander of the Katipunan and was one of the causes of strife among the society members. Enrique Pacheco, alias Resurrección Macabue. Secretary of Finance, and head of the Macabue Council. Macario Sakay, head of Katipunan in Trozo, Manila. Future founder of Republica ng Katagulagan that will oppose American occupation in the Phils. Antonio Solomon, Pasiano Rizal, the older brother of national hero Jose Copyright Rizal, he was also a personal friend of Padre Jose Copyright Burgos in his youth. He joined the Katipunan years before Jose's return from Dapitan. Manuel Tinio, youngest general of the Katipunan, he later became the governor of Nueva Ecija from 1907 to 1909. Olio Tolentino, Jacinto Tolentino, Solomon Dorma, Julian Felipe, composer of Lupang Inirang, teacher and member of La Liga Filipina, he later served as legal advisor to the Katipunan. His tenacious ability in argumentative reasoning earned him the nickname Dementviajo among the colonial Principala. In spite of being devout Catholic, Carpio, like other Filipino revolutionaries, was a member of the Freemasons before the formation of the Katipunan. In Manila, Julian ran a private law school which many of his personal socio-political ideals succeeded to his students. Notable Katipuneros under his tutelage was Gregorio Aglipay and Miguel Malva. Supporters, Melchora Aquino, also known as Tandang Sora and nicknamed as the Grand Woman of the Revolution as well as Mother of Balintawak, she has been notable for her heroic contribution to wounded and ailing Katipuneros during revolution. Literature of the Society. Written works. During Katipunan's existence, literature flourished through prominent writers of the Katipunan, Andrés Bonifacio, Emilio Jacinto and Dr. Pao Valenzuela. Each of the three's works was stirring literature of patriotism and are aimed to spread the revolutionary thoughts and ideals of the society. Bonifacio Works. Probably one of the best works done inside the Katipunan was written by Andrés Bonifacio, the Pag-ibig sa Tinibuang Lupa, a poem of sincere patriotic sentiment. Pag-ibig was published in the Kalayaan-only issue of January 1896 under his nom de plume Agapito Bagong Bayan. According to Manuel Artigas y Cueva, the name Agapito Bagong Bayan was a corruption of combination Agapito, Bagong Bayan, which, if translated from Tagalog to English word by word, means the new nation is here, and ready. There is no known original source of Pag-ibig, especially that there is no surviving Kalayaan issue. The two available texts accessible reprinted through books is the one published by José P. Santos in 1935. The other one, with familiar discrepancies to Santos' print, was archived in Military Annals of Madrid. After Rizal's execution at Bagong Bayan on December 30, 1896, Bonifacio wrote the first Tagalog translation of the former's Mia Ltimo Adiacube des, in which he gave the name Payamacas. He also wrote the prose Kachan Kulang Gorgoan Ngmgazll. B. That was never published because he believed that Jacinto's Cartilla was superior than his. Bonifacio also wrote Ang Dapat Mabated Ngmga Tagalog, which is a politic-historical essay. Jacinto Works. Emilio Jacinto is considered the brains of the Katipunan, later the Revolution. His poetical masterpiece, written in Laguna on October 8, 1897, Jose la Patria, with an inspiring melody paralleled from Rizal's Mia Ltimo Adia Cubed S. He also wrote a touching ode entitled A Marmada. His masterpiece in prose, the Katu, became a Bible of the Katipunan. See below. His other prose writing was Liwanaga Dilim, a series of articles on human rights, liberty, equality, labor, government, and love of country. His nom de plume was Dim as a Law. Valenzuela Works. Dr. Pao Valenzuela was a medical doctor by profession. In 1896, during the first publication of Kalayan, Valenzuela assisted Bonifacio and Jacinto in editing the newspaper. He also wrote Katuiran, which described the cruelties of the Spanish priest and civil guards of San Francisco del Monte on a helpless village lieutenant. He also collaborated with Bonifacio in writing the article Zamga Kapabayan, an essay addresses to the motherland. His nom de plume was Madlang Away. During the infamous Cry of Balintawak, Valenzuela had the position as Physician General of the Katipunan. Kalayan. Ang Kalayan redirects here. For other uses, see Kalayan. Kalayan was the official organ and newspaper of the Katipunan. It was first published March 1896. The first Kalayan issue has never been followed. In 1895, the Katipunan bought an old hand press with the money generously donated by two Visayan co-patriots Francisco del Castillo and Candido Ibanaguro, who returned to the country after working as Shaolin pearl divers in Australia and had some money from a lottery win. They bought the press and a small quantity of types from Antonio Salazar's Bazaar El Cisnon Cali Corrido, and Del Castillo transported it to the house of Andrés copyright S. Bonifacio in Santa Cruz, Manila. On January 1, 1896, Valenzuela accepted the position as the Katipunan fiscal in exchange of Bonifacio's consent to send the printing press on his house in Calle de los Vezares, San Nicolas, Manila, so that he could assist and edit a monthly publication which would be the Katipunan's main organ. Bonifacio agreed, and on mid-January, the press was delivered in San Nicolas. The name Kalayan was suggested by Dr. Pao Valenzuela, which was agreed both by Bonifacio and Emilio Jacinto. Even though Valenzuela was chosen to become the editor of the organ, they all decided to use the name of Marcelo H. del Pilar as its editor. To fool the Spanish authorities, the Kalayan was also decided to carry a false masthead stating that it was being printed in Yokohama, Japan. That very same month, January 1896, the publication of Kalayan was started. Valenzuela expected it to finish at the end of the month, so they dated it as January. The existence of the press was kept in utmost secrecy. Under the supervision of Valenzuela, two printers, Faustino Duque, a student from Colegio de San Juan de Letran, and Ulpiano Fernandez, a part-time printer at El Comercio, printed the revolutionary literature of the society in Kalayan. When Valenzuela was appointed the Physician General of the Katipunan, he passed on his editorial duties to Emilio Jacinto. Jacinto took the job, editing articles after his pre-law classes in University of Santo Tomas. Since the press was in the old orthography and not in the new Germanized alphabet, as called by the Spaniards, there are no Tagalog letters such as K, W, H, and Y. To solve this problem, Jacinto obliged his mother, Josefa Dizon, to buy types that resemble such letters. The types used in printing were purchased from publisher Isabelo de los Reyes, but many were taken surreptitiously from the press of the Diario de Manila by Filipino employees who were also members of the Katipunan. According to Valenzuela, the printing process was so laborious that setting just 8 pages of typesets required 2 months to complete. For weeks, Jacinto, Duque and Fernandez took turns in preparing the pages of the Kalayan, which was approximately 9 by 12 inches in size. In March 1896, the first copies were issued, and about 2,000 prints were circulated in secret, according to Valenzuela. According to Epifanio de los Santos, only 1,000 copies were printed, 700 was distributed by Bonifacio, 300 by Aguinaldo, and some 100 by Valenzuela himself. The first issue contained a supposed editorial done by Del Pilar, which, in fact, was done by Jacinto himself. It also included Bonifacio's Pag-ibig sa Tinibuang Lupa, Valenzuela's Katwiran, and several works that exposed Spanish abuses and promoted patriotism. Copies spread to nearby Manila provinces, including Cavite, Morong, Caloocan, and Malabon. Surprised by this initial success, Jacinto decided to print a second issue that would contain nothing but his works. On August 1896, the second issue was prepared. It was during this time that Spanish authorities began to grow wary of anti-government activities and, suspecting the existence of a subversive periodical in circulation, raided the place where Kalayaan was being printed, at No. 6 Clavel Street, San Nicolas, Manila. Fortunately, the printers, Duke and Fernandez, were warned in time, had destroyed the incriminating molds, and escaped. Therefore, Spanish authorities never found any evidence of the Kalayaan. Kataas-taasan Katipunan. The teachings of the Katipunan were embodied in a document entitled Kataas-taasan Katipunan, a pamphlet printed in Tagalog language. Copies of which were distributed among the members of the society. Kataas was written by Emilio Jacinto, and later revised by Emilio Aguinaldo. The revised version consists of 13 teachings. The term Kataas was derived from Spanish cartilla, which was a primer for grade school students before going to school at that time. Language and alphabet. According to Filipino writer and historian Hermenegildo Flores, the official language of the Katipunan is Tagalog, and uses an alphabet nearly similar to Spanish alphabet but has different meaning and the way it was read was changed. Diacritics were added, to emphasize the existence of NG and MGA on Tagalog orthography. The following is an excerpt from Flores Kartaliang Makabayan, MGA Tanong at Sagot Yagol K. Andra Copyright S. Bonifacio at Zar KKK. 30. Anong wika ang gingamit ni Florin MGI Florin Kasapi Zar Katipunan? Ang Tagalog. Ni gunait ang kahulugan ni Florin ilang tatik ni Florin ay bakad ang Castilla ni bazar kanilang pagsulat ni Florin MGI Florin kasulatan at gayon din zar paglagda ni Florin kanilang MGI Florin nasajasag. Ang tatik na ay ginawang Z, ang C at Q ay ginawang K, ang IIN, ang L at LLIJ ang MIV, ang NILL, ang OIC at ang UIX. Ang F, J, V, X at Z ni Florin ay bakad ang Castilla ay itinakal pagkait hindi kailanigan. Za maliwanag na ulit ay ganita cubed ang abikada ni Florin Katipunan kung itutulad za abikada ni Florin wikang Castilla. Rough translation. 30. What is the language used by the members of the Katipunan? Tagalog. However, the meanings of some letters from the Spanish alphabet have been changed. The letter A becomes Z, C, and Q become K, the letter I is N, the letters L, and LLRJ, letter M as V, letter N as LL, letter O as C, and letter U as X. The letters F, J, V, X and Z are not needed, and unused. Presented below is the Katipunan alphabet, when compared to the Spanish alphabet. Preparation for the revolution, attempt to seek Rizal's support. The night when Governor-General Eulogio Despujol White's exiled Dr. Jose copyright Rizal to Dapitan, Katipunan was founded. In a secret meeting of the Katipunan at a little creek called Patukang Manok near Pasig on May 4, 1896, Bonifacio and his councillors decided to consult Rizal regarding a decision to revolt. Bonifacio delegated Dr. Pao Valenzuela as the Katipunan's emissary to Dapitan. This was done in order to inform Rizal of Katipunan's plan to launch a revolution and, if possible, a war against Spain. By the end of May 1896, Dr. Valenzuela had visited and interviewed Rizal at Dapitan. As cover, Dr. Valenzuela was accompanied by a blind man named Raimundo Mata, since at the time Rizal was known to have specialized in ophthalmology. Valenzuela arrived in Dapitan on June 21, where Rizal welcomed him. After supper, Valenzuela told him the real reason why he went to Dapitan and the necessity of securing Rizal's support. According to Valenzuela, Rizal only answered, "Huwag, huwag. Iyaw imakasasama za bang Filipino." Rizal objected to Bonifacio's audacious project to plunge the country into a bloody revolution. He believed it was premature for two reasons: the people are not ready for a massive revolution, and arms and funds must first be collected before raising the cry of revolution. Because of this notion, Valenzuela made another proposal to Rizal, to rescue him. Rizal disapproved of this plan, because he had given his word of honor to the Spanish authorities, and he did not want to break it. Instead, Rizal advised Valenzuela to persuade wealthy Filipinos, so that they can solicit funds, where he recommended an elite army officer named Antonio Luna to be Katipunan's war general, should a revolution break out. According to Valenzuela's statement to the Spanish authorities, they almost quarreled over the matter and Valenzuela left the following day instead of staying for a month as originally planned. When Valenzuela returned to Manila and informed the Katipunan of his failure to secure Rizal's sanction, Bonifacio, furious, warned Valenzuela not to tell anyone of Rizal's refusal to support the impending uprising. However, Valenzuela had already spread the word, so that much fund proposals to the society were cancelled. Despite Rizal's rejection, the Katipunan was already trying to address its arms supply problem and had taken steps to smuggle in weapons from abroad. At his trial, Rizal denied that he knew Valenzuela, saying only that he met him first at Dapitan and that he considered him a good friend because of what Valenzuela showed to him and his appreciation of medical tools Valenzuela gave to him. He also said that this was the last time they met. Attempt to solicit Japan's aid. Despite Rizal's rejection of an armed revolution, Bonifacio continued to plan for an armed conflict with Spain. The Katipunan cast its eyes on Japan, which loomed then as the probable champion of Asian liberties against Western oppression at the time. In May 1896, after Valenzuela's visit to Rizal, a delegation of Katipunan members, headed by Jacinto and Bonifacio, conferred with a visiting Japanese naval officer and captain of a Japanese ship, named Congo, and the Japanese consul at a Japanese bazaar in Manila. The interpreter, a friend of Valenzuela, was Jose Copyright Moritaro Tagawa, who was married to a Filipino woman of Bacoor, Bulacan. After the usual exchange of courtesies, Jacinto submitted the Katipunan Memorial for the Emperor of Japan, in which the Filipinos prayed for Japanese aid in their projected revolution, so that the light of liberty that illuminates Japan may also shed its rays over the Philippines. It was with good reason that the Katipunan solicited Japan's aid and alliance. Japan had been friendly to the Filipinos since the Spanish colonial era. Many Filipinos who had fled from Spanish persecution had been welcomed there and given full protection of Japanese laws. Bonifacio tried to purchase arms and ammunition from Japan, but failed due to lack of funds and the uncovering of the Katipunan. José Rizal was part of the committee that the Katipunan formed to secure arms from Japan with the connivance of the Japanese ship captain. 3 months later, however, the Katipunan was uncovered and Rizal was among the hundreds who were arrested for rebellion. Discovery. As the Katipunan was busy preparing for the revolution, various denunciations regarding its existence reached the Spanish authorities. On July 5, 1896, Manuel Copyright El Sitia, a Spanish lieutenant of the Guardia Civil stationed at Pasig, reported to Governor-General Romuald den Blanco y Arenas the mysterious activities of certain Filipinos who had been gathering arms and recruiting men for some unknown purposes. On August 13, 1896, Fr. Augusta N. Fernandez, an Augustinian curate of San Pedro, Makati, wrote to Don Manuel Copyright El Lungo, civil governor of Manila, denouncing anti-Spanish meetings in his parish. The Katipunan was finally discovered by the Spanish authorities 6 days after Fernandez's letter to Lungo. On early August 1896, 2 Katipuneros, namely Teodoro Plata ± and Apolonio de la Cruz, who were working for the Diario de Manila printing press, had undergone misunderstanding regarding wages. Press foreman de la Cruz and typesetter Plata ± fought over salary increase of 2 pesos, and de la Cruz tried to blame Plata ± for the loss of the printing supplies that were used for the Kalayaan. As an action against de la Cruz, Plata ± revealed the secrets of the society to his sister, Honoria Plata ± an inmate nun at the Mandaluyong orphanage. That afternoon, on August 19, 1896, Honoria grew shocked and very upset to the revelation. The mother portress of the orphanage, Sor Teresa de Jesus, saw Honoria crying, so she approached her. Honoria told everything she heard from her brother. At around 6:15 p.m. that day, Sor Teresa called Teodoro Plata ± and advised him to tell everything he knew about the Katipunan through confession to Father Mariano Gael. Controlled by his fear of hell, Teodoro went to Father Mariano Gael, an Augustinian parish curate of the Tondo convent. Though he is willed to tell anything about the Katipunan, Teodoro confessed to Father Gael that a lithographic stone was hidden in the press room of Diario de Manila, which was used by the society for printing receipts. He also said that aside from the stone, there were also documents of membership hidden, together with a picture of Dr. José Rizal and several daggers that was made for the Katipunero employees of the newspaper. Alarmed by the stunning truth of existence of a secret society, Father Gael, accompanied by local Spanish authorities, searched a printing office of Diario de Manila and found the incriminating evidence. They also found Apolonio de la Cruz in possession of a dagger used in Katipunan initiation rites and some list of new accepted members. After the arrest, Father Gael rushed to Governor General Blanco to denounce the revolutionary plot of the Katipunan. The Spanish unleashed a crackdown and arrested dozens of people, where many innocent citizens were forced to go to Fort Santiago. Plata ±O's alleged betrayal has become the standard version of how the revolution broke out in 1896. In the 1920s, however, the Philippine National Library commissioned a group of former Katipuneros to confirm the truth of the story. José Juriano Santiago, Bonifacio's close friend who was expelled in 1895, denied the story. He claimed that Bonifacio himself ordered Plata ±O to divulge the society's existence to hasten the Philippine Revolution and preempt any objection from members. Historian Teodoro Aguinaldo gives a differing version of events, writing that Plata ±O revealed the secrets of the society to his sister, Honoria, following on a misunderstanding with Apolonio de la Cruz, another society member who worked with him in the Spanish-owned Diario de Manila periodical. Honoria, an orphanage inmate, was upset at the news and informed Sor Teresa, the orphanage mother portera, who suggested that Plata ±O tell all to Father Mariano Gilbert on August 19. Plata ±O told Father Mariano what he knew of the secret society. Father Mariano and the owner of the Diario de Manila searched the printing shop, discovering the lithographic stone used to print Katipunan receipts. After this discovery, the locker of Policarpio Teller, whose signature appeared on the receipts, was forced open and found to contain a dagger, the rules of the society, and other pertinent documents. These were turned over to the police, leading to the arrest and conviction on charges of illegal association and treason of some 500 prominent men. In another version, the existence of the Katipunan eventually became known to the authorities through Teodoro Plata ±O, who revealed it to the Spaniard La Font, general manager of the printing shop Diario de Manila. Plata ±O was engaged in a bitter dispute over pay with a co-worker, Katipunero Apolonio de la Cruz, and exposed the Katipunan in revenge. La Font led a Spanish police lieutenant to the shop and the desk of Apolonio, where they found Katipunan paraphernalia such as a rubber stamp, a little book, ledgers, membership oaths signed in blood, and a membership roster of the Untitled Chapter of the Katipunan. First Filipino Republic. From August 24, 1896, the Katipunan became an open insurgent government, and regarded themselves as a genuine government. Even though the society did have a unified structure, own laws and a centralized leadership, it turned to be working only when the revolution began. Revolution. When the Katipunan leaders learned of the arrests, Bonifacio called an assembly of all provincial councils to decide the start of the armed uprising. The meeting was held at the house of Apolonio Sampson at a place called Kangkong in Balintawak. About 1,000 Katipuneros attended the meeting, but they were not able to settle the issue. They met again at another place in Balintawak the following day. Historians are still debating whether this event took place at the yard of Melchora Aquino or at the house of her son Juan Ramos. The meeting took place either on August 23 or August 24. It was at this second meeting where the Katipuneros in attendance decided to start the armed uprising, and they tore their cedulars as a sign of their commitment to the revolution. The Katipuneros also agreed to attack Manila on August 29. But Spanish civil guards discovered the meeting, and the first battle occurred with the Battle of Pasongtamo. While the Katipunan initially had the upper hand, the Spanish civil guards turned the fight around. Bonifacio and his men retreated toward Marikina via Balara. They then proceeded to San Mateo and took the town. The Spanish, however, regained it 3 days later. After regrouping, the Katipuneros decided not to attack Manila directly but agreed to take the Spanish powder magazine and garrison at San Juan. On August 30, the Katipunan attacked the 100 Spanish soldiers defending the powder magazine in the Battle of San Juan del Monte or Battle of Pinaglabanan. About 153 Katipuneros were killed in the battle, but the Katipunan had to withdraw upon the arrival of Spanish reinforcements. More than 200 were taken prisoner. At about the same time, Katipuneros in other suburban Manila areas, like Calcan, San Pedro de Tunizan, Viteros and Taguig, rose up in arms. In the afternoon of the same day, the Spanish Governor-General Camilo de Polavieja declared martial law in Manila and the provinces of Cavite, Laguna, Batangas, Bulacan, Pampanga, Tarlac and Nueva Ecija. The Philippine Revolution had begun. In Bulacan, the Bulacan revolutionary movement were attacked by the strongest artillery forces ever converged in the capital town of Bulacan. This subsequently led to the Battle of San Rafael, where General Anak Enriquez and his men were surrounded and attacked in the Church of San Rafael. The Battle of Cacarong de Silay. During the Philippine Revolution, Pandy played a vital and historical role in the fight for Philippine independence. Pandy is historically known for the Real de Cacarong de Silay Shrine, Inang Filipina Shrine, the site where the bloodiest revolution in Bulacan took place, where more than 3,000 Katipunero revolutionaries died. Likewise, it is on this site where the Republic of Real de Cacarong de Silay of 1896, one of the first Philippine revolutionary republics, was established. It was in Cacarong de Silay, which about 6,000 Katipuneros from various towns of Bulacan headed by Brigadier General Eusebio Roque, better known as Maestrong Sabio or Dimabungo, list of Filipino generals in the Philippine Revolution of 1896 and the Filipino-American War of 1899, that the Cacarong Republic was organized shortly after the Cry of Pagdaloin, referred to as the Cry of Balintawak, and copyright S. Bonifacio, a Filipino nationalist and revolutionalist who led in the Cry of Balintawak. Cacarong Republic, History and Researchers, as well as records of the National Historical Commission, tells that the Cacarong Republic was the first and truly organized revolutionary government established in the country to overthrow the Spaniards' anti-dating event, the famous Malolos Republic and the Biak na Bata Republic. In recognition thereof, these three republics established in Bulacan have been incorporated in the seal of the province of Bulacan. According to available records, including the biography of General Gregorio del Pilar entitled Life and Death of a Boy General, written by Teodoro Plata, former director of the National Library of the Philippines, a fort was constructed at Cacarong de Silay that was like a miniature city. It had streets, an independent police force, a musical band, a factory of falconets, bolos and repair shops for rifles and cartridges. The Cacarong Republic had a complete set of officials, with Canuto Villanueva as Supreme Chief and Maestrong Sabio Eusebio Roque as Brigadier General of the Army. The fort was attacked and totally destroyed on January 1, 1897 by a large Spanish force headed by the Commandant Oliver Filiu. General Gregorio del Pilar was only a lieutenant at that time, and the Battle of Cacarong de Silay was his first baptism of fire. This was where he was first wounded and escaped to nearby Barangay Manatal. The Cacarong Lodge No. 168 of the Legionarios del Trabajo, in memory of the 1,200 Katipuneros who perished in the battle, erected a monument of the Inang Filipina Shrine, in 1924 in the barrio of Cacarong of Pandy, Bulacan. The actual site of the Battle of Cacarong de Silay is now a part of the barangay of Real de Cacarong. no less than one of the greatest generals in the Philippines' history, General Emilio Aguinaldo, who became first Philippine president, visited this sacred ground in the late 50s. Spanish response: even before the discovery of the Katipunan, Rizal applied for a position as doctor in the Spanish army in Cuba in a bid to persuade the Spanish authorities of his loyalty to Spain. His application was accepted and he arrived in Manila to board a ship for Spain in August 1896, shortly before the secret society was exposed. But while Rizal was en route to Spain, the Katipunan was unmasked and a telegram overtook the steamer at Port Said, recalling him to the Philippines to face charges that he was the mastermind of the uprising. He was later executed by musketry on December 30, 1896 at the field of Bayan. While Rizal was being tried by a military court for treason, the prisoners taken in the Battle of Panagla Sancho Valenzuela, Ramaque den Peralta, Modesto Sarmiento, and Eugenio Silvestri were executed on September 6, 1896 at Bayan. 6 days later, they also executed the 13 martyrs of Cavite at Fort San Felipe Fort in Cavite. The Spanish colonial authorities also pressed the prosecution of those who were arrested after the raid on the Diario de Manila printing press, where they found evidence incriminating not only common folk but also wealthy Filipino society leaders. The Baikal Martyrs were executed by firing squad on January 4, 1897 at Bayan. They were Manuel Abela, Domingo Abela, priests Inocencio Herrera, Gabriel Prieto and Severino Diaz, Camilo Jacob, Thomas Prieto, Florencio Lerma, Macario Valentin, Cornelio Mercado and Mariano Melgorejo. They arrested and seized the properties of prominent businessmen Francisco Roxas, Delisfaro Twidian and Jacinto Limjap. While there may be circumstantial evidence pointing to Twidian and Limjap as financiers of the revolution, the record showed no evidence against Roxas except that he was involved in funding the propaganda movement. Even Mariano Ponce, another leader of the propaganda movement, said the arrest of Roxas was a fatal mistake. Nonetheless, Roxas was found guilty of treason and shot on January 11, 1897 at Bayan. Roxas was executed with Mariano Adriano, Jose Copyright Dizon, Domingo Franco, Moises Salvador, Luis Enciso Villarreal, Braulio Rivera, Antonio Salazar, Ramon P. Padilla, Faustino Villarreal and Faustino More ±Alac. Also executed with the group were Lieutenant Benedicto Najaga and Corporal Geronimo Cristobal, both of the Spanish Army. On February 6, 1897, Apolonio de la Cruz, Roman Bassa, Teodoro Plata, Vicente Molina, Hermenegildo de los Reyes, Jose Trinidad, Pedro Nicodemus, Feliciano del Rosario, Gervasio Sampson and Doroteo Dormenes were also executed at Bayan. But the executions, especially Rizal's, only added fuel to the rebellion, with the Katipuneros shouting battle cries, Mabuhay ang Katagulagan! And Mabuhay si Dr. Jose Copyright Rizal! To the Katipuneros, Jose Copyright Rizal is the honorary president of the Katipunan. Schism and transfer of authority. In the course of the revolution against Spain, a split developed between the Magdiang faction and the Magdalo faction, both situated in Cavite. At a convention in Tejeros, Cavite, the revolutionaries assembled to form a revolutionary government. There, Bonifacio lost his bid for the presidency of the revolutionary government to Emilio Aguinaldo and instead was elected Secretary of the Interior. When members of the Magdalo faction tried to discredit him as uneducated and unfit for the position, Bonifacio declared the results of the convention as null and void, speaking as the Supremo of the Katipunan. Despite this, Aguinaldo took his oath of office as president the next day in Santa Cruz de Malabon in Cavite, as did the rest of the officers, except for Bonifacio. Andrés Bonifacio and his brother was later arrested upon orders of General Aguinaldo and executed on May 10, 1897 at Mount Buntis in Maragondon, Cavite. He and his brother Procopio was buried in an unmarked grave. Thus ended the original Katipunan. Nevertheless, the Magdiang faction took over the reins from the Katipunan and historians consider the Magdiang an extension of the Katipunan which it superseded. The First Philippine Republic, The crowning achievement of the Katipunan Magdiang was the establishment of the First Philippine Republic. The Philippine Republic, more commonly known as the First Philippine Republic or the Malolos Republic, was a short-lived nascent revolutionary government in the Philippines. It was formally established with the proclamation of the Malolos Constitution on January 23, 1899 in Malolos, Bulacan, and endured until the capture and surrender of Emilio Aguinaldo to the American forces on March 23, 1901 in Palanan, Isabela, which effectively dissolved the First Republic. Foreign members of the Katipunan, attracted by the universal appeal of the Katipunan's Kataya, there were several members who were not native Filipinos at all yet joined the Katipunan in the spirit of national liberation. Among the foreign-born Katipuneros were, General Juan Cales, an Indian and French mestizo, General José Ignacio Poe, who was a full-blooded Chinese, and the famous African-American Lieutenant David Fagan, who defected from the Americans to join the Filipinos due to his disgust of racism and imperialism. Dissolution. Following the victory of the United States against the First Philippine Republic in the Philippine-American War, the Americans exterminated any remaining vestige of the Katipunan. See also, Battle of Imus, Battle of Binacan-Dalayacan, Battle of Perez das Maria ± Spanish-Euro-American War, Malolos Congress, Philippine Declaration of Independence, First Philippine Republic, Philippine-Euro-American War, Philippine Revolutionary Army. References, notes and citations. Published works, Agoncillo, Teodoro C. 1960. History of the Filipino People. Quezon City, Garotech Publishing. ISBN A971-8711-06-6. Agoncillo, Teodoro C. The Revolt of the Masses, The Story of Bonifacio and the Katipunan. Quezon City, University of the Philippines Press. Artigas y Cueva, Manuel. Andrés Bonifacio y el Katipunan. La Vanguardia, Borromeo Buila, Soledad Mazanque. The Cry of Balintawak, A Contrived Controversy. Ateneo de Manila University Press. ISBN A971-971-550-278-8. Cruz, Hermenegildo. Tamago y Camacho, Jerome Espinosa Baladad and P.G. Distributed Proofreaders, ed. Katagang-galangang Bayan, Mga Tanong at Sagot Yakul K. Andra Copyright S. Bonifacio at ZAR KKK. Manila, Guillermo Mazanque, Alvarado Street, BRGY 535, Manila. The reference is an ebook reproduction from Project Gutenberg. Cruz, Hermenegildo. Tamago y Camacho, Jerome Espinosa Baladad and P.G. Distributed Proofreaders, ed. Katagang-galangang Bayan, Mga Tanong at Sagot Yakul K. Andra Copyright S. Bonifacio at ZAR KKK. Manila, Guillermo Mazanque, Alvarado Street, BRGY 535, Manila. The reference is an ebook reproduction from Project Gutenberg. Diwa, Ladislao. Andrés Bonifacio y el Katipunan. La Opinia Cubana, Fernandez, Lendro H. The Philippine Republic. New York, Columbia University Press. Fernandez, Lendro H. Autobiography of Gregorio de Jesus. Philippine Magazine, Reynaldo, Elito. Filipinos and Their Revolution, Event, Discourse, and Historiography. Ateneo de Manila University Press. Guerrero, Milagros C. Balintawak, The Cry for a Nationwide Revolution. Sulyap Cultura, Halilay, Maria Cristina and Philippine History. Manila, Rex Bookstore. ISBN A978-971-23-3934-9. Jesus Nakpil, Gregoria. Mga Tala Nga King Buet Mga Ulit Ng Katipunan. Published by Jose P. Santos. Calor, Maximo M. The Development of Philippine Politics, Calor, Teodoro M. The Philippine Revolution. Manila, Manila Bookstore Company A. Reyes, Isabelo de los. La Sensacional Memoria sobre la Revolución Cubana Filipina. Madrid, Tiplit de J. Carralza, Returna, Enceslo y Archivo del Biblio Filipino. Madrid, Returna, Enceslo y Vida y Escritos del Dr. José Copyright Rizal at Google Books, Returner, Enceslo. Vida y Escritorios de Dr. José Copyright Rizal. Madrid, 1907. Ricart, Artemio. The Hispano-Philippine Revolution. Yokohama. This book was published by Ricart himself, includes his memoirs on the Philippine Revolution. St. Clair, Francis. Kataas-taasan Kagalang-galangang Katipunan ng mga Anak ng Bayan. Manila, Sigmit, Rosario S. Sigmit Mendoza, Lud. The Filipino Moving Onward 5. Rex Bookstore, Incorporated. ISBN A971-971-23-4154-0A. Santos, Epifanio de los. Andrés Bonifacio. The Philippine Reviewer, Santos, Epifanio de los. The Trial of Rizal. Horacio de la Costa, S.J. Quezon City, Ateneo de Manila University Press, Santos, Jose P. Congino C. Jacinto. Pagracasa, Woods, Damon L. 2006. The Philippines, A Global Studies Handbook. ABC Clio. ISBN A1-85109-675-2. Zaid, Gregorio F. Philippine History and Government. National Bookstore Printing Press, Zaid, Gregorio F. Philippine Political and Cultural History, The Philippines Since the British Invasion 2. Manila, McCulloch Printing Company, Zaid, Gregorio. The Women of the Katipunan. Philippines Free Press, Zaid, Gregorio F. Manila during the Revolutionary Period. Manila, National Historical Commissioner citing a letter sent to him by Pao Valenzuela dated December 19, 1931. Zaid, Gregorio. History of the Katipunan. Loyal Press, Zaid, Gregorio F. Documentary History of the Katipunan Discovery. Manila, Zaid, Gregorio. The Rise and Fall of the Katipunan Press. The Sunday Tribune Magazine, The Catholic Historical Review Fall. 1919, The Catholic Historical Review Fall. 1919, External links, draft of preliminary reading for initiation into the Katipunan. Oaths and form of initiation into the Katipunan Society. Cartiliang Makabayan pamphlet about the Katipunan written by Hermenegildo Cruz. Philippines, Historical Flags to 1899. Spanish, El Sitio de Bala, Los Últimos de Filipinas, Information about Katipunan.